Hi everyone, welcome back to the Reclaimed Ranch. My name is Tara, and today's video I have a few different fun, easy crafts that you can do at home with the kiddos. And so this first one is going to be some coasters, and I'm just going to use alcohol inks the first go round, and then I did order some pressed flowers on Amazon that I'm going to try this weekend to do with those, so it should be pretty fun. So I've got all these alcohol inks, different colors. I'm going to do a set of pinks and oranges and yellows and blues and green, and then a purple and magenta. And then I also have a white one to bring out the colors a little bit more. And so I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on these, and they seem to come out pretty cool, so I just thought I'd give it a go. Never have done it before, and I thought, what the heck? So I bought this resin on Amazon as well, and it's a pouring resin. So it is a, what did they call it? It releases the gas, so you have less bubbles, but it does take a while. You have to stir part A and part B for about 5 minutes, and then you let it sit until it gets warm enough to pour and evaporate the gas bubbles. So I have it at around 39-40 degrees Celsius before I actually pour it in the mold. And then there's a couple bubbles that were down in the corners, so I just used my little stir stick to kind of bring those to the surface and pop them as much as I could. And then I'm going to pour 2 at the same time. But I also use 91% alcohol to pop the bubbles. You can use heat as well, like a heat gun or a torch, but you want to make sure not to heat it too much because it can burn the resin. And so I had a little bit of extra, so I'm just making some tags with the extra material there. These are just kind of fun, random things, like I'm going to try and make flowers, but it's just a fun process, and it's kind of like a, well, you don't really know what you're going to get until it's done the next day, but it's still fun to mix the different colors and see all the different movement through the whole process. So you'll see what I'm saying once you see the end result. So I just make sure to spritz it with alcohol before I start, and then I'm going to start with my colors. I started with the yellow and then kind of the coral and then a pink, and then I'm going to swirl in that white, and then I'm going to take my stick and go from the center out into kind of a swirling motion, and then I'm going to pull it back in between those. I'm going to pull it back into the center, and that's going to give me kind of like a dahlia look, I guess. It's kind of what I was going for. And then the next two is kind of more of a star-shaped flower, if you can call it that. So this one I started out with the green, and then like a teal blue, and then a really pretty, like a cobalt blue. And then again, used the white to go around the edges in a circular motion, and then pull out, and you can see how it actually kind of looks like a web from up here. Now that I'm looking back at it, kind of looks like a spider web, but it turned out really, really pretty. And so this one is going to be like the purple and magenta, and then the same thing, you always want to have your white so that you can distinguish between the colors. And then you can pull, I mean, you can do any kind of up and down motion. You can do a chevron pattern. That's what the creative fun part of this is you can make it any kind of look that you want. This is the next day. Typically you want to let it set for at least 24 hours. This was about 18, so it was still a little bit flexible. And then I just peeled it away from the resin. I was actually really impressed with this resin. It's very clear, and there was hardly any bubbles at all. So just pull it away from there and see how it's a little bit different. Like it's the darker color on one side, and then you see more of the white on the next. So this next project, I wanted to play with some air dry clay. And I saw in a magazine these little cute Trinket bowls, and they were handmade, it looked like, with like a flower in the middle. And so I figured, well, I could probably make one of those. So I'm just going to roll out this clay to about I would say 1/4 inch thick. And then I'm going to use some of my stamps to imprint the the florals in there. And then you let that dry overnight, and then the next day I'm going to go in and do some watercolor to give it some life. And you can make them as big or as small as you want. These ended up being probably about 4 inches, 5 inches across. So it was a pretty good little trinket bowl. I'm still debating on whether or not I want to paint the bottoms of them. But this is the IOD stamp called Sprigs, and it has gorgeous wildflowers in it. So what I did was I just pushed the stamp into there, made an impression of that flower, and then I will drape that over. I have a little glass bowl that I'm going to use to just kind of give me that organic shape, and then I'll let that sit overnight before we go into painting. I'm going to make another one, and of course you can do bees, you can do butterflies, all kinds of bugs, plants, birds, you name it. These would make cute little trinket bowls or ring bowls, little place to toss your coins or keys. So same thing, just going to imprint that in there. You can see it has lots of details, and then let that dry overnight. And so now it has its own little organic shape, and I have a perfect stamp to go in and use my watercolors with. So this little set I got off of Amazon, and it's perfect for beginners. It has a little pencil to draw, it has a detail pen for fine lines, and it gives you your brush for watercolors. So I'm just going to go in with my light lavender. This looks like a lavender sprig to me. And then I'm going to pull in some darker lavender for some detail. And I think I really like the organic color that it is of the clay itself, kind of like a off-white, little bit of a tannish color in there. But I think I am going to go in and do the base. I don't know if I want to do a green or a dark brown, but I think it'll just add some more character to them. And even though this wasn't on watercolor paper, the colors just blended beautifully. I was really impressed. Here you can see a close-up. They turned out so pretty. And then this last one is, we're going to do the watercolor again, but this time I'm going to be doing bookmarks. So I took some watercolor paper and I took my springtime stamp from Redesign by Prima, and we're going to stamp the images in there, and then I'm going to use my watercolor to fill in the stamps. And so it's kind of a fun project that kids can do, you know, if they have a gift that they need for grandma or grandpa, or even mom and dad, or, you know, anybody really, their teacher. This would be a fun little project for them to do. So I'm just trying to figure out what I wanted to do as far as the design goes. And then I'm going to use my little thin mount to place that stamp on. And then hold it with one hand and use my fingers to push down with the other. And then we're going to add the bird. And then I always immediately clean out my stamps, just because it's super easy. Makes less work of everything and it doesn't stain them as much. So I think I did 3 different birds, and then I also used my, I think it's called Monarch Butterfly stamp from Redesign, and I did some bees and dragonflies and butterflies, and so those were a lot of fun to color with the watercolors. Okay, and so here you can see all that gorgeous detail in those stamps. And so I let those dry for a little bit. And then this is that Monarch collection that has all the bugs. And so this is that same palette from online. And I have been watching a couple of different YouTube videos on how to watercolor because I think it's just such a beautiful technique and so natural looking. And so it says to kind of do an outline of a dark color, and then what you do is you take off all the paint on your brush, wipe it down, and then just pull the color from that outline that you did, and that gives you your shading kind of, and makes it lighter in the middle, and it just seems to work really well. So I just had fun with this. Wasn't really having any plan or anything. It's just nice to kind of just sit back and relax and create sometimes, and not have to worry about, you know, having something done at a specific time, or timeline for, you know, things to be done like us YouTubers have to do for our videos and for our booths and stuff. So this is kind of just a kick back, relax craft that I love to do. So when I'm finished with all my painting, what I do is I take a little hole punch and I just thread some ribbon through, and that, or if you have tassels, you can use that, or yarn. Anything basically will work, and then your bookmark is set. Super cute little fun project. Kids would love to be coloring, I'm sure. And you don't have to use watercolor. You can use crayon, you can use pencils, all kinds of different things to play around with. So out of these three, let me know what was your favorite. This was just a fun little crafting session for me to kind of just relax and not have to worry about something being due in my booth or what have you. I just wanted to try some different techniques, something that I haven't done before, and have fun. So I hope you all have a great week, and we'll see you back on Friday with some more flips. Take care. Bye.